Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm here today with Rose Marcus, who is one of the senior teachers on our core teaching team at the Association for Evolutionary Astrology. And we are preparing to gear up for this second EA annual online conference, of which Rose is teaching for us this year. And, one of the things you chose um, specifically to talk about the soul and the map of the progressed chart. And so this may seem like a more advanced topic for newer astrologers who are, or students of evolutionary astrology who are joining us. But I just thought it would be wonderful to hear from you, Rose, as to what has been so significant for you in learning about the progress chart and how you use that differently from the individual's natal chart.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, great. And I am very excited to be participating again at the conference and welcome everyone that is joining us for it. It's just a fantastic program that we have. The progress chart, the secondary progress chart, is what I'm going to talk about for my lecture. And it is such an exciting chart for me. I just absolutely love it. It's kind of my baby. I absolutely adore looking at the progress chart. And as an evolutionary astrologer, it is for me very exciting. And first of all, I have to say that I'm in Aries. I have Mercury in Aries, and I'm all about movement. Yeah, I'm all about moving forward, right? So the natal chart, of course, is going to show the potentiality of all that the soul is choosing to work on to evolve. You know, the soul path. This is what we do with evolutionary astrology, looking at Pluto, looking at the nodal axis, where one has come from, where one intends on getting to, and how that's all integrated. That's the natal chart, of course, right? And so the examination of the natal chart is just such a profound wealth of information, of insight into your soul and all of the assets and resources that you have to work with. You know, it's just, it's never ending. And for those of us who study, I mean, it's a never ending field. You know, evolutionary astrology, it's never ending what you discover about your own natal chart, right? You know, about all of that. It's like the insights. And as you go through life, you grow, right? You know, and your subjective awareness of who you are, of what the circumstances of your life have been, the relationships you have attracted, the ways that you have actualized, you know, the desires that you have, the challenges that you face, all of that. As you're moving through time, you're evolving your own subjective awareness of all of that. You know, sometimes you come to an intersection of your life and you're operating in it at that moment. But when you look back on it in hindsight, you have just so much greater awareness. And it kind of, you can take that circumstance and fit it into the whole schematic, right? You know, it's all of that, right? The secondary progress chart is the progress of your evolution. That's what I say, you know, from moment to moment, year to year, as you are moving through. It's a slow moving chart. Some things only barely move. Your Pluto is going to barely move, you know, for the entirety of your lifetime. The inner planets, Mercury and Venus and Mars, are going to move along a lot faster. And so we have this additional chart to refer to give us more information about where that subjective awareness might be right now, what the intersections are of your life, and all of that's very relevant to, you know, I when I work with a client, I will examine the natal chart. I'll talk about the natal chart, talk about, you know, of course, the client is going to come in with whatever they want to know, whatever they want to learn, whatever they want to talk about. I'm going to do all of that with them. But I am going to spend time looking at the progress chart and then I'm going to look at the transits. And so what I say about the natal chart, it's like the clock, and the secondary progressions are like the hour hand, and the transits are like the minute. And so I like to put the clock with the hour and the minutes together here. So I will never do a reading without examining all three of those charts together. So putting that all together for me really gives me a lot of information. And you know, a lot of people come in to discuss their chart because they want to know, you know, I'm here right now. Where am I going to? You know, what's next along the path, right? So the progress chart is helping to show where those, you know, where those dynamics are at. The triggers are going to I meant to say the transits are going to be the event triggers, and piecing all that together, especially when you're looking at, you know, I don't know, a Saturn transit or so on. You might have a progress position and a natal position, and there's a difference of degrees between that. So the transit is going to be affecting the natal and the progressed. And I'm not sure I said that right. The natal and the progressed positions are going to be, you know, a little ways away from one another. So you're going to see a transit that is going to expand or extend from the progressed to the natal transit, whatever that might be. So that might extend the uh, the the eventfulness or the circumstances or the developmental curve of how you are understanding, how you are coming into more greater awareness of whatever that planetary transit might be to the natal and the progress chart. It's fabulous. It's like a playground. And, you know, in terms of secondary progressions a day for year, a lot of people know about the sun moon blend,
Mhm.
and a lot of people know what their progressed lunar phases are. And so many astrologers will look at the progressed chart for only that sun and moon blend and dump the rest of the chart. And I think, like, wow, you're missing out so much. You know, this is what we do with evolutionary astrology. It's the, you know, where's the soul going to? What are the, you know, where are we at right now? I just think that as an evolutionary astrologer, for me, the secondary progress chart is exciting because it is such a wealth of information for exactly that.
That's really amazing.
Amazing.
Um,
Yeah, it is. It's
so if
endlessly.
I understand that correctly, you would normally use the natal chart like on the inner wheel, and then the
Mhm.
progressions as the secondary wheel.
Yes,
And if you were doing a tri-wheel, you would add the third wheel is the transits on the outer wheel. And it's
absolutely.
the core soul work of the natal chart, the individual, and then their evolved you know, sort of layer of intention in the present moment, plus what's happening now in the sky is the way I internalize that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, it's fascinating. Yeah, and I can see that with the, you know, with the progressions because predominantly what's moving, although the ascendant is also progressing, you know, like I have a Leo rising and I'm in a progression right now with a Virgo rising. Um, and my progressed sun is in Pisces and I'm getting Sag moon, you know, last quarter square with it just recently. It's like I think the last quarter square um takes effect in September. Um, but am curious because that is a usual way that people focus on the progression. And I imagine a part of your talk will be covering sort of this larger intention of the soul that's expressed through progress charts, as
Yeah.
opposed to just progress lunations.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and all of that is so important to look at. Your sun is going to move perhaps 3 or 4 signs in your lifetime. Depends if you're the angles of your chart are, you know, they can change signs. You know, planets that turn retrograde or turn direct over the course of your life. You know, planets that are at station at birth and move to retrograde or direct.
Mhm.
Um, you know, planets that have changed direction that are moving over the natal position are quite amazing in terms of what they say about the chapters. It's fascinating. It's like workbooks are being complete when that planet crosses over that natal planet again in the progressed wheel and then
Oh,
moves to a new level. It's, you know, and especially for us EA astrologers as well too, fascinating to look at a skip step. In a skip step, what is the angle of that squaring planet? Is
mhm.
it before the exact square or after the exact square? Where are you in the process of working through whatever the dynamics are of that skip step? That's fascinating information to know, right? So I'm such an enthusiast for this particular topic.
Wow, I love this. I would love for you to look at my progress chart. Yeah, it's so great. I'm so excited for your bringing this forward in the conference because I feel like it's something that I haven't heard a lot of people really teach on. And you know, I use the progress chart. I've always thought of it as this like evolutionary blueprint that shows us more of a present moment actualization of the soul as opposed to what we were born with that we're working with our whole lifetime. But I would say pretty intermittent. I just follow intuition. And to hear you say that this is something you use every single time to gather those different pieces of information, um, it's really brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm going to be teaching a course on it after the conference too.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. I haven't
wonderful.
set a date for it yet, but it's coming.
Oh, let us know. Yeah, because we really, I mean, I'm part of the big intention of the Association of Evolutionary Astrologers is to support the teachers of EA in bringing their work forward and really helping this larger community grow and deepen in our knowledge and awareness of this tool and how to use it. And so, yeah, that's great. Let us know more about that. We are, you know, kind of looking at the progress chart most of the time secondarily, but when you're looking at it as a primary tool, what do you find is most important to analyze in terms of the overall picture?
Well, I'm going to go about it perhaps in a similar way that we do with EA. I want to look at the soul path, Pluto, and the nodes. I do want to know that, but it's all the things that I'll talk about when I do the lecture as well too. Planets that are changing signs, crossing angles. Again, changing phase, and so forth. Right? Changing direction, and it is to do a full analysis of the progressed positions there to see exactly what they're doing, and then to put that around the natal chart and to see what that's picking up as well too, right? So yeah, it's there's a whole checklist.
And so, I mean, the things I can think of are like, for example, the Pluto is not likely to change how, or not like likely to change sign in someone's lifetime. Although I suppose if you were born at like 29 degrees, 55 minutes retrograde, or that over time it could progress into the 0 degrees of the next sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen it often where the nodes of the moon have changed sign because of their retrograde motion in the progressions?
Absolutely. If your natal positions are at 0 degrees, it's possible
Mhm.
that you are going to have your nodes change signs, right? So that is very much worth looking at. Because of the mathematics, oftentimes when you're looking at a progressed wheel, we're working with the midheaven and the sun primarily moving at the same rate of speed. The ascendant will move a little faster or slower depending on what sign it is and so forth. But oftentimes, for example, the sun will stay in the same house when
Mm.
you're doing a progress chart, you know. So it's very, it does happen, it moves, it does happen, right? You know, so it will move forward. My Pluto is right on my descendant, and it has moved by progression into my seventh house.
Mm.
That's a big deal, you know, because Pluto doesn't move very far through the progressions over the course of a lifetime. So the secondary progressed wheel, for those who this is unfamiliar information too, it's the day for year. And so if you look in the ephemeris, and you look at the 90 days, I meant to say, after you were born, that constitutes basically the roadmap for 90 years of your life. Each day represents 1 year. And I have to tell you, Michelle, because I'm currently waiting right now for my first grandchild to be born. And I've already started a diary, documenting what's happening just before she's born. But my intention is to do a diary for that first 90 days, so that as she is an adult later on, she can look back at what those secondary progressions were doing while we were experiencing them. So,
Brilliant idea. Oh my
yeah.
Oh,
And
I
that's a really important point for anybody who is has a newborn in their life, to think about what those first 3 months are all about, what the experiences are. What was the mother going through? What was the father going through? You know, what was the experiential track? What was the circumstances? What was the world doing?
wow, I would love to be able to do that. That's just I did keep journals of my eldest son's pregnancy. I wrote him letters when I was pregnant with him. Which I'd have to go, I put in his baby box. I'd have to go back and look at that. But I love that. I love that
Good.
idea, like really tracking. Because I imagine, and I've always thought about this, like the first 1,000 days of our life are kind of the primary stamp upon which all things just cycle over. Um, and I mean, if that's the case, like the first 90 days of your life, like most people wouldn't live in progression beyond the first 100 and let's say 120 days of their life. That's as far as we would. So there's this sort of window of evolution
That's
that,
right.
right, in a lifetime that can kind of be seen in a way. I just have never thought about the progressions that way. That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do you see in terms of, and I don't know if you're going to cover this in the lecture, but like planets that are stationary or that turn retrograde in a lifetime. So for example, like I have Jupiter in Scorpio. It was direct when I was born, but shortly after I was born, it turned retrograde, and it's pretty much retrograde for the rest of my life, foreseeably. I mean, like I can't, because of it, it's an outer planet and it has a longer retrograde cycle, in terms of the progressions, it will just always be retrograde. How does that change affect the this?
So I'm sorry, when did it go retrograde?
Oh, it was a couple years ago. I have
Oh, a
to,
couple of years ago, not when you were young. Yeah.
no, I was
Oh, no.
born
Oh,
with
yeah,
it
yeah.
direct.
Okay.
Uh,
So, when a outer planet like Jupiter goes retrograde, of course, it's going to be slowing down in its orbit. So, the slowing down is going to be a few years. And when it's, in an outer planet formation here, there's a few years where with Jupiter, it's belief systems and philosophies and the direction forward, right? And all of that. So, that's on a shift at that point, right? And Jupiter about the teachers and the teachings, right? It's all of that. So that's a major point. A planet like Jupiter, a larger cycle that's going to or a larger planet like that, can be more subtle in terms of that retrograde pattern.
mm,
um, but it will be relevant to you if you look back you will see how things shifted for you in the way that you were perceiving and all of that regarding everything to do with Jupiter, everything that Jupiter represents.
Oh,
I myself, my Pluto turned retrograde when I was 16. I left home at the age of 16.
mhm.
I was about 36 when my Mars turned retrograde, and I was at that time I was married, and with my husband at the time, I was pursuing an art career. Yeah, astrology's been with me my whole life, but that kind of was the overtaking piece. And at that point in time, I said, art has no soul because the way we were doing it. And that's when I really fully committed to the path that I'm on, the astrology, right? My whole life changed. My Mars is in Capricorn, so it changed. I had my kids, and everything, the structure of my life changed, my life goals changed, with that. And, when you look back on those particular years when a planet switches from retrograde to direct or vice versa, these are going to be outstanding years, and it'll be a few years of change. As I say, it's not suddenly all of a sudden that you are doing something different because it's something that's an evolution. It's in process. That might be the year, it might be a little before, a little after that you actually do something significant in terms of implementing that change in whatever way you are. You start to perceive the world in a different way and you start to create accordingly, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think my Jupiter went retrograde in 2004. So like 20 years ago. Um,
What shifted for you then?
oh, I think I became a lot more of a spiritual seeker at that point in my life. You know,
There you go.
I was raised Christian and, had um my mother was always a really spiritual person, but I didn't I even went through, I think, of a period of almost being agnostic in a way, but I really I studied Buddhism and meditation and A Course in Miracles and, New Thought. And my life became a lot more, um, and I would say that even though it probably wasn't until later, like 2009 or something like that, that was sort of the beginning of a deeper spiritual unraveling, like having a dark night of the soul kind of experience and um, really wanting to understand the deeper truth of what had happened to me as a child and how that had affected me personally. And I would say that my calling to astrology has been related to that in a sense too, because since I've been able to use the natal chart as a tool, I had this capacity to see trauma in the chart and also really recognize the evolutionary themes of healing and the things that are unfolding for each and every one of us that are, you know, kind of the why we're having these experiences in the first place. Um, so and that probably started unfolding for me on some level, whether consciously or not, at that point in my life, I would imagine.
Well, there you go. As you look back on that and reflect on it, it expands. At that point, you were living it out. Now you can see it a little better from down the road.
Mhm. Interesting. Um, well, anything else, Rose, that you want to share with us about anything?
Well, I think we've covered it today,
Yeah.
so it's been lovely to talk to you. And each one of us that are in the association and each one of us that have been called to do this work feel deeply honored
Mm.
that we've been gifted with this body of information. So I know that each one of us are very, very excited to share. And so for anybody who's watching this out here, come join us.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is our second annual conference, and right now we do have an early bird special that's available for folks who register before July 31st. So we're in the last few days of that registration special. You can take $100 off the full conference pass. It gives you access to 4 days of lectures, 15 different talks, and a panel that we have with many of the teachers coming to bring together community and education and astrology into one beautiful weekend. There's a lot of different, all of the details are on the website. You can find it in the description, a link below this video. And the coupon code is early bird. After that expires, though, we still have a discount available for members of the association. So Rose has been with us since the very beginning. And being a member of the association is participation in one of our annual class series. So whether that was last year or the first year, we invite you to use the coupon code member to take $50 off the conference price as a gift and a thank you for being a member of the association. So I hope that you will join us. We look forward to having you, Rose, and so deeply grateful to you for your teaching and your service and just your participation in this community. It's really a joy to be with you here.
Oh, thank you. And likewise, Michelle, it's wonderful that you have been so instrumental in the background as well as the front. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And I can't wait to hear when that baby comes. So you I'm sure you will be a proud grandmother. So,
Yeah, you betcha.
all right, everyone. Look forward to seeing you again soon and join us October 3rd through the 6th for the second annual conference. Bye for now.